Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Love and Real Estate. It's your girl, Donyell, and I'm here with my love.
Hey, good evening, everyone. This is Daryl.
And we are excited to be bringing you another episode. We are back in Northern Virginia and excited to be, doing another episode. We had a nice little week off, vacation in Montego Bay, Jamaica. I definitely need to go if you haven't been. Some beautiful resorts there. And so we're back. How you feeling today, Daryl?
I'm feeling well, feeling really good. Um, it kind of sucks that I'm not in Jamaica right now, but just coming back here, I feel great.
I agree. I agree. But it's always important to take that vacation. And I think we did a whole episode about, taking the trip, making those plans, getting away, giving yourself that mental release. That sometimes you need away from work and family when you're trying to balance everything. So check that episode out on our Let's Take a Detour podcast. But excited to be back here talking all things love and real estate. And, I had a topic I wanted to talk about that really hones in on real estate and just kind of some of the questions that we get or some of the perceptions I think that people think about their homes that, sometimes you have to, be faced with reality, if you will, or, what will and won't work in the market. And
Oh,
so,
that's interesting.
yeah, I just wanted to share some kind of best practices or some tips that really hones in on real estate. And it came about because I'm part of a team, and within the team, we all, contribute as far as bringing clients in that are buyers, bringing in listings, which are like sellers. We do property management as well when it comes to rentals. And so we go on a lot of these listing appointments, and sometimes people have this price point or perception of what they think their house should be worth. And one topic we were talking about is in the Northern Virginia area, there's a lot of big old homes, and most of them are in the like McLean area, kind of that Great Falls, a Falls Church, Vienna, where a lot of the homes are priced at over $1 million easy. And so there are some though in the Alexandria area that could easily fall in that 1.2 to whatever $1 million homes, these nice big grand homes. And one of the appointments that a colleague of mine on the team went on was in the west end of Alexandria, right before it turns into Arlington. And nice big homes there. The area around there, some areas are not the best, but they are. But it's so close to DC that you're going to pay for a location. Pretty much, you're paying for the location of being that close to the DC metropolitan area. And so my colleague went on this listing appointment, and the lady, she's thinking her house should be listed at 1.8 million. Now she got that from Zillow. And I just want to say, a lot of those search engines are great. You get emails and they say, hey, your home's valued at this worth now and stuff like that. And you think, oh my gosh, this is great. I can sell my home and get all this money. It's not, that's nice. And it's good to kind of have a price point when, you're talking to a real estate agent and saying, hey, this is what I would like to make. But just know that there are seller fees that kind of go into that. If you have a mortgage, you got to make sure you pay that off. So there's a lot of other things that go into that. So, and you got to be realistic about it. And what we do as agents is we run comps. So we look at what has sold in that area recently, what's on the market now, what may be pending and what the pending price is. And then we kind of come up with, okay, here's like a ballpark between this and this amount, that I would recommend you listing your house. At the end of the day, it's always up to the client though. The client gets to pick what they want to, ask in an asking price if they're the buyer, or what they want to list their home as the seller. We just kind of advise based on running comps and looking at the market on different platforms that we use. But my colleague was so excited to take this listing appointment because she was like, oh my gosh, the lady was like, I think it should be like 1.8. And the lady had tried to get in contact with her because she gets her market cards about, hey, these are the homes that we've sold, or here's where we're listing. And, you know, we blast those out in different neighborhoods. And so the lady had seen the advertisement. And she's like, you know, it looks like you do a lot of good business. I want to think about selling my home. I think it could sell for 1.8 million. So of course we're like, yes.
And where did she receive that 1.8 million number from?
She got it from Zillow. So Zillow is telling her this is what her house is worth, which if you ever list your home or sell a home, you get these emails that tells you how much your home is depreciating for and what the value is. Like I get those emails for our home that we have, and it says, hey, this is how much your home is worth now.
Now, do you know if Zillow calculates that number based upon the same method you do when you pull the comps, like what other homes are selling in that area?
A little bit, but it does to a certain extent, because it's looking at other homes in your same zip code and address area. Okay. The only thing it's missing is that Zillow doesn't know how much you still owe on a loan. Zillow doesn't know. Usually Zillow's a little bit behind on knowing what homes are closing. So anything on Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, all of those sites, they are a little delayed than what is actually available. So I get a lot of people, especially home buyers, where they're like, "Ooh, I like this house. Can we go see it?" But it may have already gone under contract or be gone already. It takes usually those search engines 30 days to update their system, because it's a third-party vendor that's doing it. And so everything we get when we look at a system that's privy to realtors is in real time. So I can see what's available right here, right now, what's under contract, what's pending. So while Zillow may say, oh, you can sell your home for this amount because a home, you know, it would be like 2 months ago sold at this, I can actually see what's on the market today, right now. And the only thing I'd have to wait for is when it actually closed. So say something closed though last week, I'll be able to see that. It's going to take Zillow a month for it to register in their system. Okay. So it may be off by a month or two.
Now, do you find that what Zillow says that your house is worth tends to be a little bit exaggerated?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. And it's a little bit exaggerated. And again, there's other factors that go into that. So if you're a seller, you have seller fees. So you're paying, it doesn't take into effect a commission that you pay for both the listing agent and the buyer's agent. Like there's a fee there. Traditionally it had been 6%, 3% for each side. Now, because of the way the market is and the trending real estate, it's more about 5%, and it's like a 2.5 and 2.5, or, you know, one side gets 3, the other side gets 2.5. It kind of just depends and that's something that gets worked out with the seller and the listing agent. And so, you know, usually it's up to the seller if they want to offer a 5%, and then it's split. So that goes into effect. And then again, if you have still a mortgage to pay, you have to make sure you cover your mortgage. And then if there's something, you know, that you want to walk away with, you know, we factor that in. And then you have some other fees like title, you know, your title company, the deed, all of that stuff, HOA documents, if you're in an HOA, like all of that gets billed out to the seller to make sure that the buyer is coming in and everything's in clean, you know, transition pretty much. So my colleague went on this listing appointment, and again, the lady's got in her mind, and it's sometimes, and I will say this, and you know, we as realtors try to make sure that we get, you know, we are working for the client. So we want to make sure we get them what they want or as close as possible. But we also have to make sure we're giving you reality. And so sometimes people come in with a figure in their head and they don't want to budge from that figure. Now we can list it for you at that, you know, higher price point. But if it doesn't sell in a week or two, a lot of times we're like, hey, let's put in, you know, let's have an agreement that in 2 weeks, if we're not getting a lot of showings or a lot of even offers or people looking at it, we need to kind of come down to where the market is with the price of the home and drop
Mm-hmm.
it.
And for everybody who's listening to this podcast, real estate in North Virginia goes by fairly quickly.
Yes.
The place that me and my wife occupies now, it was only on the market for like around 4 days, and it received 12 offers, and we were just the winning offer. So when my wife says that, if it doesn't sell within 2 weeks, now other regions of the United States, they may be too short of a time, but that's fairly quickly in this area. So if you have a piece of real estate and it's nice and it is at a very reasonable price, it should be sold fairly quickly.
Correct. You're absolutely right. And that's where it kind of goes to, if something is on the market for longer than the anticipated time,
Mm-hmm.
then it's a price point issue, unless there's something constructionally, wrong with the home, or somebody's selling it as is. Like I have seen some homes where I'm like, oh my gosh, this home is terrible, but it says in there selling as is. So they
Mm-hmm.
probably priced it at the lowest price point because they just need enough to cover, somebody's mortgage, or maybe it's a short sale or something like that. But for the most part in this area, and it's getting back to that stage. There was, when you and I bought our home, it was prior to COVID. So it was like bidding wars, craziness. And you had to, come with the best offer, have a really savvy, realtor to really kind of help you get in there with the competition. Since COVID, things are starting to get better, but obviously, interest rates and all that other stuff, which we've talked about on some of our previous podcasts, have played a role, but it's getting back. This is a good time to buy. And so getting back to the lady, so my colleague went on this listing appointment, and of course in her mind, the lady's like, oh my gosh, my home's worth 1.8. I saw you done some good business in the area. I get your market cards. I want to sit down and meet. So, usually we try to schedule appointments so that we can gather as realtors, run the comps, look at the area, know, how old the home's been. We can look at to see how, when you bought your home, how much you bought it for, all this other stuff. And we, put a nice presentation together. Well, the lady was like, so she was trying to shoot it for later in the week, for like Thursday or a Friday. The lady's like, no, I want it this afternoon. So, of course, my colleague's like, okay, we got to pull this together quickly, and we'll take it because, this could be a potential $1.8 million home listing. So, yes, we'll do it. So she gathers all the stuff. Another colleague of mine goes with her, and they go on this listing appointment in the west end of Alexandria, right there on the border before you get into some of the Alexandria City to Arlington of Northern Virginia area. And beautiful home. It's 9-bedroom house, pool, everything. So of course my colleague's thinking she's gonna walk into something like spectacular, like, oh my gosh, blown away. They walk into
based upon the description, it seems like it's very spectacular.
Exactly. They walk into this house, and immediately my colleague is like, what? It's just not what she expected. Now, everybody has different style. The house is a beautiful home on the outside, but inside, the, interior decorating that this lady has done with the home is just something where she's like, I'd have to do a lot of work in this house just to like... And this is where I want to let people know that when you're selling your home, you may think it is the best thing since sliced bread. Yeah. That is your style. You think that the color you have chosen, everything is like, yes, I can sell this. But you have to put yourself in the mind of all kind of buyers. Everybody is, if you're selling your home, somebody's taste is not your taste.
Now, how long has the lady lived in this place?
From what I gather, she's been there. She was the original owner, so she's been there for a while. Okay. And from what my colleague says, to like some of the like curtains look like they're from like the 70s. gold chroming on some of the panels. She was showing me some photos because they, of course, were taking photos of the house. Now, the house is beautiful, but there are some down things to it because it's going to take a particular buyer if it's going to be priced at 1.8, which my colleague thinks that it's probably more in the 1.5, not necessarily that high of 1.8, because of whoever buys it is going to want to update some things. It has not.
Well, let me ask you this, Donyell. When we purchased our current place, we updated a lot of fixtures.
We did.
We basically we redid the bathroom. I mean, I kind of think that's common knowledge in this area that if you're going to buy a place, you're going to have to put some work into it.
But think about it. If we were buying a $1 million something home, which we did not. Mm-hmm. But if I'm buying that type of home, I want most of that stuff to be done. Like, I don't want to have to put more money into it.
But people that's buying that type of property, though, probably already has a very high net worth, right? So it's all
correct.
Relative.
It depends, though. There are some people that I think if they're thinking in their mind, they're going to spend 1.2 to whatever $1 million. You want most of that home to be as updated and as new as possible.
Well, Donyell, let me tell you this. In our place, the amount of money that we paid for our townhome, we could have got like a mansion in Ohio for the same amount of money. So I was expecting, now, if you would have, I know we had a discussion about buying a home when we first got here. I was under the perception that if you're going to spend that much money for a place, there's nothing that you got to change in it. It should be pristine. Everything should be brand new. All the fixtures, all the permanent appliances and stuff like that. But the more that we started, looking around and some of the places that we went to go see, that's just not the case.
True. And you make a good point, because a lot of these homes too were built, long time ago. And so you will find more homes, especially in the Northern Virginia area, where they've been built 70s, 75, 76, back then. But the current property owners have done updates in these homes because they were older. And a lot of the condos that you find, you'll see that, some of the main things that people like to make sure are updated are windows, newer windows, bathroom, vanities and things of that nature, or kitchens are huge to be updated. Now, I will say this lady did have a very nice kitchen in her home, but there was a lot of, she had gathered, because she had been in this house for a long time, and this is what I always
built around her personality.
There's a lot of personality in that home, and there's been a lot of things. So when you're in the mindset to get ready to sell your home, it's best, and we advise this with every seller, doesn't matter, to slim down some of your stuff, especially if you're still living in it and we're showing it, scale it down, some of your stuff, and you have to take some of the your personality out of it, and just make it a neutral personality. And by that is so that it shows well to anybody that's looking at it, whether, they're, because anybody that's coming to look at a home priced at $1.8 million, they're looking for space, things particular, and it would be priced at, because again, this location, she's in a great location. I mean, right close to a metro, close enough to drive if you wanted to into DC, but you could just drive. I mean, the metro probably is like walking distance, if not just drive over, park at the, at the Mark Center or whatever, and then, just really good, convenient location.
And I will say this about Alexandria too, that if you haven't never been to this area before and you come here, there are certain parts of Alexandria that doesn't look the best, but it's still a great place to live because it's very, very safe, especially compared to DC. So, I mean, one of the main reasons for living in this area is for the safety. So some people coming in and they see like a townhome, and the area around the townhome probably doesn't look the best, or the townhome itself probably doesn't look the best, but it's on the market for a ton of money. Well, that's because a lot of people pay a premium for the safety and also for the school district.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, so of course they walk in and they're like blown away at even, I mean, I will say, I saw some photos, some of the chandeliers that was in this home, beautiful chandeliers. I mean, I wouldn't change a thing. The entryway with these huge windows and grand stairs that curve to go up, and, just beautiful different things. But there are some little things like curtains, or like she put these gold chromes on the steps that's not necessary to, like, do different things that, there would be some things that if we were to get that listing, to have to recommend her to change, that she may not want to, because she thinks, hey, with this, it's going to sell. But in today's society of kind of that, depending on who the buyer is, that may not be their style.
So have you had this discussion with the client?
So my colleague so this is what happened. So the lady, they walked around, saw the house, was talking to this lady, and then she took them outside by the pool area. The yard is very cut off. Like the backyard doesn't lean way to a lot of backyardage because there's a pool, and there's 4 ways to get outside of this house. So again, somebody with kids, which my colleague has 3, like us, is thinking, oh my gosh, there's no fence or anything around this pool. With my young kids, if somebody goes out this door and they jump, and they go into the water, there's potential for drowning if they're young. So, you think about these different things as a realtor, but also as a parent, in some situations, because we are parents as well. And you're thinking about that buyer with 9 bedrooms. It probably would be a family of kids too, amongst, maybe even having grandparents there and stuff. So you just think about. So anyway, so the lady's very nice. They're talking. They go out back. They sit. They talk some more. She's telling her, she's trying. The lady's questioning my colleague, which you should do, about what you can do for them. Back and forth. Then the lady keeps offering them something to drink. She gives them, and at this time, this is like the 3rd or 4th time. So it's like, okay, let me say yes. And in some cultures, if somebody offers you a drink, it's customary to, accept. So 2 bottles of wine later, she tells me, 2 bottles of wine. They consumed a whole bottle of wine, then was going for another one. She brought out olives, nuts. They're trying to soak it up. I mean, had good laughs and talk, kind of got off topic, talking about everything, whipped back, looked through the house. So, she's been messaging with the lady. The lady was unsure. She didn't sign on the dotted line that, she was going to let us list her home. She still, is deciding. And at the end of the day, what she had said, this is the client, had said, is that she really wants to list her house at 1.8. And she felt that, some of the fees, like she wants to, give the buyer's agent a 3%. And the listing agent 2.5% in a commission. Doesn't usually work that way, because the listing agent is doing more for you. Like we, you know what I mean? We're promoting it, marketing it, which with Century 21 New Millennium, we market the heck out of it. We could do an exclusive just for Century 21 agents before we open it up to all agents. Like a lot of different ways to really get your house sold fast and quick. And so, I think that's another perception, is that not all brokerage firms are, created equal. Each one provides something different. And Century 21 New Millennium is a global company. And so the lady hadn't heard a lot about Century 21 herself. So she was, questioning that. And there are some brokerages that are lean towards more of the, $1 million homes. They only, list those type of homes, exclusive listings and stuff. And that's what I think this lady thought her home should be, in the, high rollers club. And, my colleague told her, like, listen, Century 21 is a global company. We list all homes, big and small. We're in, we can list high rollers just like we can list, your, I guess, if you will, your basic homes. But, it's all about what me as an agent can do for you and giving you reality of the situation. They had run comps. They had told her what it is. And they said, realistically right now, based on what has sold in your area, your home would be listed and sell better at a 1.5.
Okay.
But she said, it's your decision. I will list your home for 1.8 and do everything I can to get it sold at that. But just know that reality is you may not get those offers. They may think it's overpriced or whatever, because other agents also, with buyer agents, they're going to run comps. So doesn't really, I mean, we all have access to that. We're all going to do that. If we're selling your home, we're going to look at the comps in the area. If I'm bringing a client to a home, before that client makes a smart offer, I'm going to run comps to see, okay, this is where the ranges of homes have been sold at for everything you're getting in this home. Here's my suggestion. What do you want to list the home at? Or what do you want to make an offer on?
Now, I can tell you right now, if I was the client, I mean, I like to follow my own intuition, so I would like to list it at the 1.8 just to see who will bite. You know, if nobody bites, then we can go ahead and list it down. But it kind of reminds me when we was looking for a home, we came across a very spacious place, and it was owned by an older couple. I mean, I think they was in their 60s or 70s, and they were moving back to their birth country. And before they did it, they wanted to. They was retired, and they wanted to sell their place. But this particular place, though, it was really built around their personality, and the curtains and everything else. It just nothing.
Yeah.
It didn't scream modern. It wasn't a modern place, right?
Yeah.
But the reason, why I want to bring that up is that we was becoming very desperate because we wasn't finding the place that we wanted, and the places that we did want. We
going quickly.
Yeah, it was going fairly quickly, or it wasn't the winning bid or whatever. So, but this particular guy, he received a ton of bids from what he was asking. He asked for a particular price. He was receiving bids for that exact price, but he wasn't accepting them because he was, from his standpoint, he wanted something much higher, even though he didn't want to put it on the market for much higher.
Yeah.
So that's why he hasn't. So I remember our realtor was talking to his realtor. And, you know, his realtor was a little bit frustrated because the guy, from their standpoint, the guy's never going to be able to sell his home because he's never going to receive an offer that he wants, that he thinks is a fair offer.
Right.
Yeah. What do you think that his home is worth?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
no, and I
always wondered what happened to that guy. Did he ever eventually sell that place?
You know, I don't know, but I find it interesting too, and that's why I really wanted to kind of, speak around this, is because, you know, I completely understand it as a realtor and a homeowner. You put a lot of, work, like we've done a bathroom, a basement, with new floors. We took up upstairs. We did flooring before we moved in. We painted.
That stuff costs a lot of money. We did. Well, we tried to paint and we messed it up.
Yes.
So we had to bite the bullet and call in a professional painter.
Right.
Yeah.
But we're working on painting our outside of our home. We've done our backyard. I mean, we've done a lot of updates, and there's still things we want to update and do. We've got some new appliances in our kitchen. So we
outside of our home.
Yeah.
And another thing too, I want to state is that when you go to like Springfield, you go to like Burke and Fairfax, is that never judge a place by its outside facade, because a lot of these places were built in the 60s and 70s, and the outside may look unappealing, but if you go inside, the whole entire place may be completely revitalized. Remodeled, that's a better term, by the owner. So never just look at the outside. Always want to go in and take a look inside.
I agree 100%. Yeah. And I just wanted to bring this topic to light, because you may not always like what a realtor is saying, and if you are working with a good realtor, they should be telling you the truth, giving you the real facts, and it could be some tough love, hard conversations to have, but at the end of the day, we want you to succeed, not for us. And I always say I work for the clients. I do this because I enjoy meeting people and talking to people. I know what our experience was when we were looking for rentals, when we were looking to buy, and I wanted to be able to help others that are moving to this area from, a Midwest, area like Ohio, and coming here. And it's just like a huge change in real estate of what you can get for the price. And so a lot of times it takes some, talking to and explaining. And so don't get upset from your realtor if they're giving you true facts and situations. We're
Yeah,
always
they're the
going,
professionals.
we're always going to list the home at the end of the day of what the client wants. But we're also going to say, hey, I can list this at 1.8. Let's give it, how many, and I always ask, how many days do you want to give it? How many weeks do you want to give it before we need to come back to the table and say, okay, let's have a price adjust, because nobody's, showing this home or looking at it, or, hey, here are the feedbacks that I'm getting from other realtors. Maybe we need to tweak it a little bit. So that's kind of where I always end up and land. And that's kind of what my colleague did. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we win the listing. But at the end of the day, too, it's just kind of, I just wanted to bring awareness to those that are selling their home or thinking about it. Sometimes you have to remove your personal feelings about the home and what you've done, and just make it so that any buyer, whether they're young, old, family, non-family, any buyer, they're going to make changes because they're going to make it their own, as you did. But you also want it to show and sell well. So you kind of got to tame down your personal, interior decorating self to make it so that anybody that's coming in, especially if you're going to show it with stuff in there, anybody coming in can kind of visualize their stuff, but not too far off where they're like looking at a curtains or a style or something and be like, no, I don't want this house, because they can't get past all of the interior stuff versus just looking at the function of the house.
Yeah. Well, that's very important, though. I'm glad you brought that topic up. Yeah. A lot of good information. Well, so if you familiar with our podcast, you know that we like to split this with an economic topic, and then we like to talk about a love topic. So the topic I want to talk about, I'm going to bring up the love topic since, my wife was talking about, real estate. It comes from New York Magazine, and it comes from their Instagram post. It was an Instagram posting, and I guess somebody wrote to them and asked them a question. And I'm going to read this to you, Donyell, and I really want to get your opinion on it.
Okay.
So this person said that my son has 3 children and is divorced from their mother. He is an alcoholic and as a result has not been able to pay child support beyond the divorce settlement. He can't even support himself. The children's mother has full custody. Any requests I make for contact with my grandchildren are ignored. Gifts sent are unacknowledged. Checks sent are uncashed. As their grandmother, I miss the children terribly. I have been attending school plays and athletic events they participate in. I don't engage with anyone, sit in back rows, and I am sure to be unseen. But is this stalking? Are my actions selfish and self-serving? Trying to share in their life, though I am not wanted, right? And before I get to your opinion, I wrote something. I wrote a reply on the Instagram posting, and this is what I said. I said, the mother has probably experienced enormous pain in her relationship with an alcoholic and has separated herself and her children from anyone associated with him. I understand the grandmother's pain, and her actions are not selfish, but she needs to give the mother time to get herself together mentally.
That's a good reply.
Yeah.
And I do feel bad for the grandmother, because it sounds as if, like you said, the mothers have associated, this connection of the son with the grandmother, and therefore, are trying to not, shield their kids from that, which you do as a mother. That's, that's that mama bear instinct in you. But I would say, I don't think what the grandmother is stalking, because she's not engaging. She's sitting in the back. She just wants to see her grandbabies in their sports activities or whatever they're doing, so that she doesn't miss those moments. And so I feel for her. I do think at some point...
it's a very sad situation.
It is. And I do think at some point it's worth, the grandmother reaching out again to the mothers and trying to have that conversation, even if it's something slow, like, hey, can I just, one day for an hour sit with the kids with you and just, talk to them or play with them. We could go to a public park and I could just watch them play or push them on the swings or something like that. Something small.
I like that, but you got to understand though, the grandmother really need to give the mother patience, because the one thing that stuck out to me from her question was that she sent checks, but the checks are uncashed.
Yeah.
So she's sending money, but the lady's even rejecting the money.
Yeah.
So it seemed like the lady just don't want to deal with nothing that's associated with her former husband.
Yeah.
And it sounds like, or I can interpret from this, is that the mother probably had to deal with a lot of bad stuff with this guy.
Yeah.
Being with an alcoholic is not easy. It's basically being with a drug addict. You could basically implant drug addict for alcoholic, and it would be the same thing.
Yeah. No, I agree.
It's very difficult. Yeah.
I agree. And you're right. I think patience on the grandmother's part from the mother is important to have. I also think that the reason why maybe the mother isn't cashing the check, because then it would be something where, the mother probably doesn't want the saying of, well, I'm sending you money, you're cashing the money, I deserve to see my grandkid.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
And so that plays too into the mother's head.
But she may feel obligated now to have the grandmother come over and see the children.
Right. Yeah. And I think maybe it's a point of, instead of her trying to have the relationship with the kids, work on having a relationship with the mother first, so that she can feel that she can trust her and not have to, deal with that. And maybe that's just the mother, telling the grandmother, hey, once they establish a talking relationship, maybe it's something that the grandmother has to be okay with, even saying herself, I understand if you don't want to have a relationship with my son. I just want to see my grandkids. Can you and I have a relationship? Because it could be that the mother's ignoring it too, because she doesn't want the grandmother to go back and tell, anything to the father of the kids, because she's trying to really, keep them away from that situation.
And we've seen, recently in the news, there's been a lot of situations of, a lot of stories that come out of, fathers that have killed their children.
Yeah.
Or killed their significant other.
Right.
I mean, this is very serious out here.
It is. And I just seen a story. This is just off topic, but I just saw a story on the news that a lady, she killed her kids and her husband, wrote a book about grief, and then come to find out she did it. Like,
yes.
she's on trial right now. But I'm like, how do you write a book about it?
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. I'm pretty sure they're going to use that at trial.
Oh, yeah. She wrote a whole book about grief. Yeah. So I can see you're, getting our little one there, but
do you hear it in the background?
We do. This is why we're on the go with the podcast.
Yeah. It's so much that we're doing.
Yes, but no, it's an interesting topic. I feel for the grandmother. I think it's a tough situation. If you're in one of those situations where, the family dynamic of in-laws or even your own personal family, and there's some type of addiction there, you always have to put your kids first, even if that means making some tough decisions in the way about which family members interact with your kids. So, but there's also resources for you out there to seek help or get some, resources that you may need. So definitely look into that. We do appreciate you guys listening to our podcast of Love and Real Estate. I'm going to drop all the ways that you can hit us up on my Instagram, and that's at realtor.donyell.allen. Leave some comments if you have any questions about any type of real estate in Northern Virginia or just anywhere globally. Like I said, the brokerage I'm with, Century 21, is a global company, so I can help you anywhere or answer any questions you may have. And then you can also email me at Donyell, DONYELL .allen, ALLEN at c21nm.com. Also leave a review on the podcast, ask any questions. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, we will.
We're trying to spread the word. If you're a valid listener and you've been listening to a couple of our other episodes, tell your friends to listen in. If there's a topic you want to hear us talk about, let us know. We're just trying to increase our viewers and really bring you guys what you want to hear. And again, we're just a couple that, I do real estate. He's kind of in accounting, finances, and we're just bringing our experiences to you guys of what we've learned from moving to this area, but also just kind of things that have helped us as adults and parents growing. And then we also have a side podcast called Let's Take a Detour, where we just talk about pop culture, politics,
The
things
Real
we're
Housewives of
watching.
Potomac.
Real Housewives of Potomac, different
Yeah.
places.
We're gonna actually do a podcast for each episode of the season.
Yep. So we are venturing out. We like to stick to the love and real estate, but we also like to bring some fun in there, and that's our Let's Take a Detour. So check that out. Also streaming on all podcast sites, and we appreciate you guys listening in. All right. Talk to you guys later. Bye.